Hello, magical soul, and welcome to the Awake Revolution podcast. I'm Marie Fleming Grant, and in this podcast, I'm going to be sharing insights, perspectives, stories, and tips, guiding you to drop the baggage, wake up the real you, and revolutionize it all: how you think, how you feel, and how you create, so that you can be all of who you came here to be.
Well, hello there. I have a very juicy episode for you today. So, welcome back if you are a returning listener, and welcome if you are a brand new listener. I am happy to have you here. So, I'm just going to dive straight in. I want to try and keep these episodes limited to 30 minutes or less. That is my intention. But as usual, I have so much to share, and so I'm just going to dive in today. So, today, off the back of the last two episodes where I've been talking about all of these things around the dark energies and AI and how it's showing up in the body and what is really happening here on the planet, I want to kind of unpick this a little bit more and talk about the four ways that humans effectively get hijacked by these darker energies, but also, as I'm speaking about this, showing you that light is far more powerful. So as always, my intention with these episodes and pretty much everything I share with you now going forward is, because I'm tackling these subjects, it is so important to do it in a high frequency. This is never about creating fear and creating drama around all of this and, oh my goodness, the world is in crazy turmoil. The world is in crazy turmoil, but it's exactly what we came here to do, to be here during this time and to anchor in the light. And so, of course, we're going to have conversations like this. Of course, we're going to start seeing things that we didn't see before. So as I share this information with you, it is with the absolute intention of shining so much light onto this subject that by the time that we've finished and by the time that you've got through listening, you actually even might notice that you have some sense of excitement inside of you. This is not a doom and gloom episode, but it's so important for us to really start to see. I feel like the episode that I'm going to share with you is around opening your eyes and your third eye, receiving this information, reminding you that a lot of this is reminding you of what you already know on a deep soul level. It's just we're activating now. We're going through these awakenings now. And so this is what we literally came here to do. So if you're listening to this episode, there is no accident. You could have switched it off 20 seconds ago. You're still listening. So I am incredibly grateful. I send you a ton of love, and I'm excited to share this with you, because being informed is the most powerful thing, and shining a light on all of this takes the power from this dark energy that is very present on the planet. Of course, it's present on the planet, but the way that it's got through is because we didn't know it was there. So I honestly feel that half the battle is knowing that it's there. And then we can take the necessary steps. We can start moving forward. We can start making different choices. We can start doing the clearings, the healings, setting the correct intentions, all of this amazing stuff that we get to do. So this is what we're going to do in today's episode. So I'll just dive in. 4 ways then that humans get hijacked. There are probably more. I'm sure there are a multitude of other ones, but I want to just stick to these 4 ways, because these are the 4 ways that I've already encountered many, many times. They're the ones that keep coming up in the clearing sessions that I'm now doing with people, in the work that I'm doing in a very different way alongside all the other ways I work. But they're the 4 that really make a lot of sense. So I hope that when you listen to this, it will also inform you not only of yourself, but probably people that you know that have certain struggles, that experience life in a certain way, because we all have areas of life where, you might have felt that you've done so much damn healing and you've done so much focus, and yet there are still aspects of your life that feel stuck and that feel that they don't quite get momentum. Right? And as you've heard me talk about before, if you've listened to the last couple of episodes, these dark entities that have been attaching to humans for as long as we've been here, this is what they've been doing, and what they're doing is they're siphoning the energy. They're taking light. They're feeding off our light, and so they get in through various ways. So this is what I want to talk you through, these 4 ways. Keep it nice and simple for today's episode. So number 1, which might be the more obvious one, and I've touched on it already, is during times of trauma. So if you think about it, this is why the world is set up. We have wars that are very profitable for certain, let's say, beings on the planet. There's always been some level of war and, all of this, making money in different ways. We've always had traumatic events happening. Many of us are now seeing these, what we're calling false flag events, or, orchestrated things, attacks, different ways that these things are being, orchestrated. And so the world is being pumped full of these traumas and things to worry about, which is, you turn on the news and you see it, right? You see nothing but bullshit trauma and how terrible the world is. And if that's all you tuned into, you would really probably be quite depressed. And so this is the energy that they're transmitting on the world, and it's in their interests, these energies, these beings, to keep us in a state of trauma, because it keeps their agenda in place, which is to keep this planet in a very low frequency, heavy vibration, so that they can continue doing what they've been doing for a very long time throughout our history. And this is what they've done, right? So what we also experience is our own trauma. So individually, if you think about it, even the way that we're born is traumatic, because unless you have had a home birth, we're typically born in the Western world anyway, in a fluorescent lit, artificial light hospital with no fresh air, horrible vibrations there. It's a whole place filled with trauma, right? And we get bored into this place, and the first thing that nurses and doctors do is yank us away and cut that umbilical cord, which, we should be keeping attached for much longer, and all these different processes. So we get born through trauma, and then as life, we go on this life path. All of us, I'm sure you listening, you can list off your own traumas, traumatic events that have happened to us through our lives. And I just want to quickly speak on that, because sometimes I do cross paths with people that say, almost like they feel bad. They say, but I haven't had major traumas like many people I know. They say they haven't gone through like major crisis, but actually you have, because there are lots of things that every human has gone through that have felt traumatic at the time. It could be that something happened when you were 8 years old, and if it happened to you at 28 or 58, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But because it happened to you at 8, that person said that thing, you experienced that thing, it was traumatic to you at the time. So we have those big T trauma, the obvious traumas, but we also have a lot of those small T traumas as well. So every human, unless you were born into, there are always exceptions of course, but unless you were born into a very conscious, highly loving vibration, and you had your both parents there, and they were highly conscious, and they didn't pass any of their stuff onto you, and you had a life of shelter, and you were just hidden away from life, and you lived on a tropical island, and it was a paradise, you will have had some kind of trauma, right? So that's just how it is. So we've all had trauma. And then what typically happens is, because very deliberately we're not taught anything of use when we go to school. So we go through school learning all the kind of bullshit that we don't need to know. That's very deliberate. And we don't get taught how to deal and process our emotions and our trauma. So typically you'll find yourself in adulthood, later in life, sometimes earlier, but typically later, where you're in some kind of therapist's office, or you're in some healing session, or you're trying to do the self-help, you're trying to read books, find answers, and heal from what you've done, what you've experienced. So we all have these traumas, and then what happens is that when we've accumulated enough, it affects our energy centers, And so imagine, if you just imagine you've got all these energy centers running down your bodies in the form of chakras, meridian points, whatever you want to call them. You have these effectively holes in these energy centers because they've been hit. They've been hit with low vibration trauma, and the impact, like it would do, it would kind of cause a rip or a tear in the aura or a hole, and it shatters the energy systems, the chakra points, and it starts to leave these open. I'm just going to use it as a kind of a way to visualize, but imagine these holes in your energy points. And so when there are holes, it's like leaving doors open. So you leave these doors open due to trauma. And then what it does is it simply allows these energies, these entities, these dark forces to come in, attach to your energy field, but they basically attract because of the trauma. So let's say you're in pain or in struggle or in suffering or heartbreak, grief, loss, anything, any of this kind of stuff, fear, anxiety, all the things. These are lower frequency energies. And we're not saying that with judgment, but it's just a lower, heavier vibration. So these dark energies that also vibrate at the lower, heavier vibration, they're a magnet. So they can attract, they can attach in through this pain and suffering. They get into your energy field. When they get into your energy field, they then siphon the light, the energy from your body, in that area. Often then that attracts more of the same, and you have more of this dark energy attaching, affecting the human body in all manner of ways, right? And so when this happens, you are, interestingly enough, that a lot of people go through their healing then. So they've gone through their healing, they've healed the trauma, but they haven't removed that energy that's still stuck in there. So this is why people they're scratching their heads going, I've healed from that trauma though. That thing doesn't bother me anymore. In my case, I'd healed so much from being in a very violent, abusive, on all levels, relationship for almost a decade. I was very, very young. And even though I healed from that, some of that energy had still remained, that dark energy had still remained in my system until I cleared it. So that's just an example of typical ways of how these dark entities, these dark energies will attach through times of trauma. And it makes logical sense when you hear that. So that's probably the first one that probably most will take on board. Most of you will feel like, yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it does. It does make sense. It's more of what we're familiar with. But the other three are interesting because often these are the ones that we don't know. And these are the three that I've learned more recently myself that I want to share with you. So the second one I want to talk about is some of these dark energies and entities. If you think about it, they're attached to most humans, right? All of us. And so if you think about your parents, you think about your mother, as lovely as she may or may not be, she will have had her own traumas. She will likely have had energies attached to her because she was on the earth plane and she lived her life. And so often what happens is that when the mother gives birth to the child, to the baby, depending on the scenario and the energies and the soul contracts and all these other things, often though, people will find that they come through, and when they're born, they've had some of these dark energies attached to them from day one, from birth, and they often come through. Think about if it's in the mother's energy system. For whatever reason, that entity or energy may decide that they want to attach to this other source of light, and then it attaches to that baby. And then when the baby's born, that could be you or I, born, and then we've got these entities and dark attachments attached to us where we never even knew life without them. And the reason why I absolutely know this is true is because I've done so many sessions now where a lot of people, when we tap into these energies that we're removing, some of them have come through trauma, that time when XYZ happened. Some of these energies, however, have just been there from birth. They say, we've always been here. We came in with this one. We've always been here. And so when we're removing these energies, of course, then there needs to be some integration time, because if we've never known this life without these sabotaging energies, one, it feels incredible to release them. But two, it also means we've got to give that a little bit of space. We've got to get used to, how does it feel to be in this body like, I'm going to say, like, how does it feel to be in this body alone? Without this stuff pulling on us. But I find that just by shining a light on this, it makes so much sense. We can also then maybe have compassion for our mother if we need to do that. We can start to look at that from a different perspective. We can start to understand that, my goodness, we're all really being affected, right? We're all really affected by these energies, and they got away with it because we didn't know that they were there. So yeah, that's the second way. So coming through, attaching to us from birth, where we don't know any other way, so we're not going to notice, right? We're not going to notice this, what is this heavy energy doing? It's really interesting when you actually do these clearings, that when you do them, you can then start to become very aware of those thoughts that aren't yours and those energies that don't belong to you. So it's a really wonderful thing to be able to know your own system and what it really feels like to be authentically you, being in your full consciousness. And that's what I want for humanity, hence this conversation. So that's the second one. Third one, which was really intriguing when it came up, made a lot of sense to me, was that some people that I've done sessions with have had these entities and attachments come in and effectively follow them in from another lifetime, from another timeline, incarnation. And I know that some of you listening to that, you will feel a recognition, right? If you do, just notice that. It's okay. Just what you're doing is you're shining a light on the probability that you probably have something there as well that comes from another lifetime. This is an interesting one because sometimes people are not clear as to why they almost feel trauma around certain areas, but they haven't experienced it in this lifetime. So there's really interesting things that go on around entities that follow you over from another timeline. And what comes up around that, I've had a few clients in the last 2 weeks where we've been doing these clearing sessions where they've had these ones come in from other lifetimes, and reason being is because that particular person would have been doing some really powerful healing work on another timeline. It could be that in that I'll say past life, but it's not really past because past, present, future is all at once. But let's say past life, previous or alternate life. Let's say that person was very activated in that lifetime, or they stepped into some kind of healing, spiritual ability, and it was becoming very powerful. And so in order to stop the path of them, sometimes there are ones that will attach to someone and will just follow you in to another timeline so that they can sabotage you here. And it's usually an indicator of when someone has got true power inside of them. And bless those ones, because those are the ones that often come to me. They've had struggles. I know someone very dear to me. Actually, I know a couple of people who are very dear to me who have this going on, and it's a challenge. It's a real challenge because it's like you're going through this lifetime feeling like things are not lifted. So there is this part. Again, it's just being aware of it. And I find being aware of this is incredibly empowering, right? That's the first step, to really understand that it is not because you're flawed or because you're not good enough or because there's something intrinsically wrong with you. It's just sometimes we've got these energetic attachments that, they see you. The funny thing is, these energies, often they see my clients' mission more than my clients have seen their own mission. And I'm tuning in and effectively communicating with these dark energies, and they're saying, yes, this one is so powerful, we need to make sure she turns her light down, or we need to make sure he is not out there doing his mission because it's a big mission and there are things he's going to do on this planet, and this is going against our agenda. So there's this incredible understanding of your mission, which is I've got to smile sometimes, because it's like I want to say to my clients, don't you see how magnificent you are? You're so powerful. And it's always the ones that doubt their mission. It's always the ones that feel like maybe they're not really cut out for this. You are cut out for this. It's just there are reasons that you are not where you need to be, or you feel that it's not where you are that you want to be. There are reasons that things are blocking you, and you are not paranoid, and you are not crazy. And so I share this episode, and I share this now in the world, not giving a damn if people listen to this and think I'm some kind of paranoid, crazy nut job. If people think that, then they're not ready for this conversation, and they are not for me, and I'm not for them, and that is okay. That is absolutely okay. So it's a good one to know. It's a good one to have an understanding of. So that's number 3. And then the fourth one equally surprised me, because again, it goes against what we've been taught and programmed, and it may surprise you. So I'd love to hear from you and see what you think. So the fourth one is dark entities and energies can often attach to humans and hijack us during times of awakening. Now, this one surprised me. It surprises a lot of people when they realize, because we have been taught so much programming around if we're light and if we're positive and if we're in our heart, we will repel these dark energies. They will not have any power. There are lots of spiritual communities, I will not mention names, but there are lots of big ones where they deny the existence of any dark energies. They actually say, if you believe in them, then you'll experience them. But if you don't believe in them, you will not experience them, because they will not be in your reality. That is not true, because there are people who have these dark energies and attachments, and they did not believe that they even had them. And then we find them in sessions, and then they say, holy shit, oh my God, that makes sense. And they feel the release when those energies are cleared. So I just want to dispel that myth. That is a bullshit myth. But it's during times of awakening, and I want to explain why. Because it doesn't make sense, right? You think if you're going through awakening, you're following the path of light. Your light will be your protection. So these dark energies cannot interfere. That is exactly, for many people, when they will start to show an interest. Reminding you that the agenda on the planet by those controlling is to keep the planet in a heavy vibration. Let's keep it really simple. It's to keep the vibration of the planet very heavy, very low frequency, so they can continue siphoning the light, consuming us like food, batteries, and continue doing what they're doing. So they don't want the people that are on the planet right now to be doing what they're doing. And what they're doing is awakening. That's why my business is called The Awake Revolution. It is not because it's a one-stop job. You switch your light on and you are now awake, and it is done. It's a revolution. It's a process as well. This is going to be going on through our lifetimes, right? And beyond. So during times of awakening that we've all experienced, we start to step out of the matrix. We start to step out of the old frequencies, the old vibrations. We start to heal. We start to connect. We start to understand ourselves as multidimensional beings. We start to understand ourselves in a very deep way. We start to feel our vibration rise. We start to feel our frequency shift. We start to go into expansion, all these things. And don't get me wrong, there can be dark nights of the soul along that way. I've definitely had many of those. But fundamentally, we're shifting in frequency. Our lights are pinging on. They're turning on. So what can happen in that is that's where, again, I've had some clients where this has occurred. They start to then become seen. And it's a bit like if you were to walk into a dark room wearing, what are they called? The hard hats with the lights. There's probably a word for it. I just can't think. When you've got the light on the hard hat and it's shining like a torchlight, but on your helmet. So it's like you're walking in a dark room and you've got this great big light on your helmet and it's shining bright. And in a dark room, you will be seen. So in the dark, you will be seen. You will just simply be seen as a lighthouse, a light worker, one who has light. And so this is where then, because you're still, walking the path, we're all healing, we've all got these parts of ourselves that we're still working through. These dark ones can choose to attach in on those unhealed parts. They can just start to want to target us. So you might find, some people find this, that they're feeling really great. They're feeling the most expansive that they've ever felt. And then all of a sudden a series of shit happens where it's like a series of unfortunate events, right? One after the other. It's like, why am I having a string of bad luck? Why am I experiencing trouble and friction? This is why, often, because during times of awakening, there are attempts made to pull us off our path, to distract us. And again, it works because we didn't know. It works because we had no idea that this is how it can work. So we're not prepared. It's not because we're being negative, because this is the funny thing, right? Most light workers, they're not focused on the dark. They're focused on the light. And yet these energies still attach. So what a great program it is to tell people, oh, if you don't believe in them, they don't exist. Bullshit. They exist whether we believe in them or not. So our job is to start really understanding, starting to take that old lens off, starting to open the third eye, starting to see things now for how they really are, with no fear, but just, that makes complete sense. It makes complete sense. And not being in fear about it, and understanding as soon as we see it, that's half the battle. The next part is removing it, strengthening our chakras, healing, doing our healing, making sure that nothing further can reattach because we're in a different frequency now, and all of the things that we're doing on the ascension path. So it's really surprising to a lot of people when they think that, because they're in a higher frequency now, that should be enough. And actually, we're in a spiritual war, so they're not going to play within the rules, right? They're not going to go, oh, that one's so full of light, we're going to leave them alone. They're going to say, that one's so full of light, let's try and siphon that light. Let's try and hijack the mission. Let's try and distract them and throw some stuff around them so they get so bogged down by other things, they won't know it's us. So this is what's happening. And it's important for us to understand. So those are some of the ways, and like I said, there's probably a load more, but those are the 4 kind of really obvious ones, common ones, that humans get hijacked, and these energies, it's easier for them to get through during these times. However, the light is more powerful. And I want to leave you with this as well, that when I'm in sessions clearing these energies, this is the amazing thing. When we're clearing these dark energies, they can sometimes, they can often be really dark, heavy, nasty, really horrible. Some of them, there's different levels. Some of them are just inconvenient and a nuisance. Some of them are really dark and heavy, and they're really nasty, and they get a lot of pleasure out of siphoning the energy and hijacking the mission and messing around with us. But when we start connecting these energies into the light, they actually lose their power of dark. Some of them want to stay connected to the dark, and that's their free will choice, but the light will still remove them. It is not that hard to remove them, especially when you're connected to, the archangels, the angelic realm. The Arcturian Council is also who I work with. These are very, very powerful beings who have the authority and the frequency high enough to remove them. So that happens. But also, what's also amazing is that a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them, enough of them, actually, when you connect them into the light, they want to be able to connect into light. There's an incredible relief, because these dark energies, what it is they are all sparks of light themselves. It's just that they've become so disconnected. They've gone into the dark. They've had enough experiences. They've become consumed by that dark, but they've just forgotten that they themselves are sparks of the same source. If you understand that everything comes from the same source, we can't separate and say, oh, only light comes from source and the dark comes from some other, mystery place. No, everything's from the same source. So one of the best things I love about these clearings is not only are we clearing the person of these attachments, energies, entities, we're taking these dark ones, and a lot of them are actually going into the light, and it is probably one of the most beautiful parts of this type of work. And actually, it's helping my understanding a lot more of about everything on the planet, because I'm seeing this very, very closely. So I wanted to share this with you, is that the dark is just disconnected parts of the light. So when it gets connected into the light, it even realizes that the light has always been far more powerful than the dark can ever be, or has ever been, or ever will be. And this is what we need to remember, which is why I share this with you in a very high frequency way, because there is nothing to fear in that way. Of course, it can feel scary and overwhelming. I'm not saying that. A lot of my clients are in such pain and struggle from these energies, so I'm not downplaying that. There is real pain and struggle here. But once we get into the heart of it and we actually remove these energies, a lot of these energies are so relieved. I've had these dark energies actually say sorry to clients. I've had these dark energies wish them well. I had one amazing session. It only happened once so far, but I'm in my early stages of this. But these dark ones went from laughing and cackling at the pain that they were causing her to connecting into the light, to actually then giving her some guidance on her path, right? This was incredible to me. I was like blown away by that. And so the dark is part of the light. And this is the important thing to remember. So if in doubt of anything, the light is the most powerful thing that you can ever connect with. If you find yourself feeling afraid, or if you find yourself even sensing dark around you, and that does not feel good, believe me, like I know how that feels. I had some very, very, very dark, heavy experiences back in 2016 particular and 2011. So I am under no illusion that this is no joke. These dark energies are very, very, they can be intense. But if you are ever feeling anything around you, call on the light, call on your angels, call on them, and you can surround yourself with as much light as possible, and this will assist you. This will absolutely assist you. The light is so powerful. So rest assured that you've got that on your side. You've got that. You're surrounded by it. You are light. You are so connected. But of course, if you want assistance on that, I'm your woman. I am all about this, all about clearing this now for people. So I'm going to leave the link wherever you're listening to this, wherever you're watching this. I'm going to leave the link somewhere so you can explore that particular clearing session. And depending on if you just can't find the link, just go to theawakerevolution.com. You can click on Ways to Work with Me and you can explore all the different ways, but particularly that session. It's soul center healing hypnosis, this particular work, but just in case I end up shifting the name and rebranding slightly with how I'm doing it, it may have another name, or the session itself may have another name. So just look for this hypnosis, some sort of hypnosis clearing session on my website, or go to the link that you're listening to this now, or if in doubt, just send me a message and I can always give you the info. But yes, this is what we're doing right now, and we'll continue to do in different ways. But I hope that you feel more knowledgeable. I hope that you have got some more insights into this. It's opened your eyes to how some of this works, because that's my intention. But equally to know, being armed with knowledge is one thing, and wisdom and information, but to know within yourself that the light is always more powerful. And it is, because otherwise I would be very battered by doing these sessions. These sessions are 3 to 4 hours long when you put all the pieces together. I have never felt so high in my frequency than when I've been doing these sessions. Why? Because I am connecting into very, very high frequencies in order to remove these energies from people. And so it's just testament to the fact that the light is so powerful. Like, I don't come out of these sessions feeling I have to clear myself. Believe me, I still have to clear and do all my protections and strengthening. There's a lot of work that goes into that, but I am in a very high frequency. It's not dragging me down. If anything, it's lifting me up. So that is the power of the light. So if nothing else, take that away and know that the planet is shifting. This planet is ascending no matter what it looks like. And I celebrate that. I absolutely celebrate that. I hope you can feel the frequency the way that I'm sharing it with you, so you can feel that we are on this mission together, that, you know, even though it's not the way we want it to be, we are absolutely doing it. It is inevitable. It is happening. What we've done so far cannot be reversed. There is so much light on the planet. In fact, I'm constantly told by my beautiful divine team that there has never been so much light on this planet in the way that there is, apart from the beginning when we were all here and it was amazing before the energy shifted. But we have never had so much light on the planet because we've all come in to this timeline. You listening to this, me talking at this end, and more of us around the world, we've all come onto this timeline at the same time for this particular ascension period. So it is incredibly powerful times, going beyond the struggle and the stuff that we see. It is an exciting time to be alive. It really is, because we're up front. We've got front row tickets to this part of humanity's history that will be spoken of for a very long time in the future. And here we are. We're actually living it. And I think that's pretty amazing. So on that note, I send you so much love. I want to cheer you on. If there's anything that you need in terms of guidance, assistance, I have different ways of working. You can check those out on my website. If you're not sure, send me a message. We can have a conversation. All of that. I'm absolutely here for it. And I'm absolutely here to guide you and support you. This is literally my mission to do this. So I'm cheering you on your mission as well. So I send you so much love. And yes, let me know what you feel about this episode. Drop me a comment below if you're watching it on the YouTube. I think you can do the same. You can do the same on Spotify now. I think you can comment there. But if not, feel free to send me a message. I would love to know your thoughts and your feelings from this episode. So that's it for now. Take care, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.